All right, welcome back to the shop. So I'm going to do an update video on my 2019 Chevrolet 5500HD. So I bought this back in July of 2019. I was replacing a Ford F550 that I'd had for since 2005. Real toilet. I think it was a piece of junk. So I brought it in, put this bed on. I took this bed off of the F550 and I put it on this 5500HD. I love this truck. It's quiet inside. This Duramax L5D, I think it's the L5D. It's got tons of power. It's a great truck. But I had a few things that I kind of did wrong in the video just because it was so new. I didn't really realize how all this stuff worked yet. I hadn't had it very long. So I'm going to kind of update, just do an update video on some of that stuff, as well as some of the improvements I've done to this truck. So the only issue with this truck is International made the cabin chassis. Chevy made the engine and transmission, and International, they've been making trucks forever. I've driven International trucks that were like back to model year like 1972, 79, stuff like that. Trucks that we'd had with flatbeds on them, mechanic beds on them, and they didn't seem to ride as bad as this thing. This thing rode so bad. You know, when I first put the bed on, I took it down to a truck shop in Fontana, a place called Betts. I think Betts Parts and Service or whatever, and they redid the springs on the rear just to level it out, because I've got a heavy bed on here. The truck weighs about 17,500 pounds. On the right side I have this 7,500 pound crane, and it offsets it a little bit, you know, puts more weight on the right side. So they leveled it out and leveled the truck, you know, side to side and fore and aft. It still rode terrible. So I went through and I tried to buy some shocks for it to see if that would help. I bought some Bilstein shocks, some really nice ones. They helped a tiny bit. They didn't do very much. It's so bad there's a company in, I think it's Iowa or Ohio, whatever, the same state, I don't know the difference, that makes a complete suspension system for these, an air ride suspension system. We take the leaf springs off. You could buy front or rear and you change the whole system over. Unfortunately, they only make it for four-wheel drive trucks. They don't make it for two-wheel drive trucks. That's a company called Ketterman's or something like that. So it looks like a good system, and people swear by it that it's good, but it wasn't an option for me because mine's two-wheel drive. It was so bad. It was so bad that I don't think I had the truck more than 3 months, and I bought an air seat for it. I took out the bucket seat on the left side and found an air seat that will actually fit a shorter cab like this. I can only find one company that did. This company called Nodler. They make a shorter seat that'll fit in here. It helped a little bit, but it still doesn't help completely. Mind you, I live in Southern California, and we have probably the worst roads in the nation. You would think that you could actually make a smooth approach from the freeway to an overpass without bouncing over the overpass on both sides, but not in California. You gotta smack that thing, you know. It's a really rough ride. But I've driven a lot of trucks over the years, the last 40 years, and this is the worst riding truck that I've had. So finally I took and I got one of my old GoPro 5, put a magnetic base on it, put it under the truck, and I videoed the rear suspension working, and I went over some rough road, and then I moved it and I videoed the front suspension working on the same road. And it was what I suspected it was. It was the front springs were so set up so weird that the truck would bob like this, and you'd hit a bump and you'd hit the bump, that was fine, but then you had this rebound, it would throw you off, and that's what really hurt. You would sit in the seat and it would just slam you up out of the seat, and it hurts. You know, it's hard to drive this thing. You drive it for an hour and you're sore when you're done. So I took it back to Betts. I kind of waited longer than I should have. I just didn't have a chance. It's just been busy over the last couple of years. I finally took it back a few weeks ago, and I told them, I want you to do something with the front springs. They tried to talk me into the rear springs again, saying, let's beef up the rear some more. It's just that you have too much weight in the rear and no weight in the front, and the front's teetering on it. And I know that's not true because I've watched other 5500 HDs on the road. When I'd see them go past, you know, go through an intersection in front of me, and you could see them hit the bumps when they go over the crown of the road, and you see that front end get that rebound and just slam you up. And also I did some research, and it appears that International, when they did the springs on here, they tried to find a happy medium between an empty truck, like a stake bed with no load, and a heavy truck, a loaded stake bed. To them, that's all there is in the world, is a box fan or a stake bed. They don't realize what other people do with these trucks. And so they just ruined it. And I've driven one that was empty, a stake bed that was empty. It rode like crap. I've driven this, which is 17,000 pounds, just like it sits right now, and it rode like crap. So I told the guys at Betts, I just want you to beef up the front springs, and I want to see what that does. So they took and they added a leaf to the front springs, and that was the cure. That fixed it. It rides 90% better now. It's still a little rough because it is a heavy truck, and I do have pretty stiff springs in the front now. But now all you do is you just feel a bump when you hit it. You don't feel the bump 4 times, and that makes a big difference. So that's the first thing that I improved on this truck. Second thing, the mirrors on here were just pathetic. The left mirror was okay. You could see past the body. But on the right side, I don't know why they did this. They had this short mirror that sat right about here. And this is just an 8-foot wide box, body on here, like any other body that's going to go on here. And that mirror didn't stick out far enough, and all you'd see is the front of the truck. You'd have to use just a small convex mirror to try to see, beside you over here. I finally got sick of that, and I found a company up in Canada. It's an international dealer of all things, who sells a set of mirrors that fit this truck. I don't know what they come off of. All I know is that they market them for this truck. They're kind of pricey. I think I spent like, oh God, I think they're like $700 a mirror or something like that. I forget what they were. They're really expensive, but it was well worth it, because now when I'm sitting in that driver's seat, I can see who's in the right lane next to me, so I can change lanes easier without, before you'd have to really keep track of who you passed or who's around you. Otherwise you could make a right, or make a right lane change because you couldn't see over there. So that was the second big improvement. Another kind of smaller improvement that I did, it comes with a backup camera, and they give you this little tiny round camera. It's on this funny plastic bracket. I don't know what they expect it to mount to. I had no way to mount it to the truck, so I just drilled a hole in here and I siliconed it in place. But this camera didn't really work very good. Kind of a fishbowl kind of look. It was a reverse image, and it was offset. So I found a company that sells a better camera. These cameras are robust. These are really good cameras. They've got the infrared lights on there, so they work at night. And this truck doesn't have just a standard RCA type plug-in for the camera. They have their own plugs, their own plug, their own way that, a special proprietary plug that they use. Well, this company, which I actually posted about this in a different video on this truck. This company sells this camera with the adapters so that it plugs into it. If you guys want any of the information on like the camera I put in, or the mirrors or anything like that, just put it in the comments, just comment on the video, and then I'll get back to you and I'll give you the information, because I have one more that you guys are really gonna like. So this truck was set up governed. It was set up to do 75 miles an hour. Some of them are set up for 65 miles an hour top speed. If you get an ambulance package one, they're set up for 79. So I was headed at the Chevy dealer for some like emission recall or something they're doing, and I told them, hey, can you guys set the governor up so I can do 79, 80 miles an hour? And they said there's no way to do it. Well, I got on the computer and I started doing some research, and I found, believe it or not, it was from somebody in India or somewhere like that. I posted the service letter that goes to all the GM dealers and the international dealers, and it said, you may have customers that come up with a concern that they want a higher top speed, and here's what you do if they ask for that. They said, first off, you have to have tires that are rated at least 80, I think 85 miles an hour or something like that. You had to have a certain gearing and a couple other parameters. I forget what they were, but if you meet all these conditions, then the dealer has to set the high speed up for you, because you can custom order it with the speed you want. I believe you can, because I know the ambulance ones do come with it. So I took that letter into the Chevy dealer, I brought it to them, and at first they tried to deny it, and I handed them the letter, and they looked at it and they said, oh, well, let's check on it. So I left the truck with them. They said they were going to charge me to do it, which was fine. But then when I went to pick up the truck, they didn't charge me for it. They just did it for free. And now this thing does 79 miles an hour instead of 75. And that might not seem like a huge difference, but when you're battling the traffic in Southern California, with all the commuters that don't know that the passing lane on the left is actually a passing lane, they like to get in and kind of plug the freeway up. So you kind of need that extra speed just to be able to kind of work your way past people. It works great. And plus I'm on the freeway for a long time on this. The average drive I do is about an hour and 15 minutes. So if you want a copy of that letter, just message me in the comments, and then I will get back to you, and I'll give you, show you how to get that letter. Okay, so a couple other things that I did in the video that I just kind of, I didn't really have them wrong, I just didn't know, because I hadn't driven it enough when I did that original video. I put down that it didn't have glow plugs, or they didn't come on, you didn't know that they came on. Because, you know, I've got that 2006 GMC over there, and it's got a Duramax and LBZ. On any day, the glow plugs come on for a few seconds. On a cold day, they come on for 10 seconds. All the diesels, all modern diesels will do that. You know, they'll show you on the dash that the glow plugs are on. Well, this does have it, and it does have a glow plug light. It's just this was in July, and it never came on. I never saw it. Once winter came along, I started seeing it. And I just, you know, it's the first time I've really had time just to do a video on all the, just correcting that video. And I was kind of waiting also till I did the springs and kind of got that suspension problem settled. So watch, when I turn the key on, you'll see it right down here just for a quick second. There's that glow plug light right there, and it's already off. So that's how quick it is. And then what's cool about these, you don't have to hold the key and crank it to start. You just bump the key, and then the starter runs till it starts. And then I guess it's really nice because I just reach in, look for that light for 2 seconds, and then boom, hit the starter and it starts. One other thing that I had that wasn't totally correct, I had something about the DPF level. Let me put on the select here, go to the DPF level. I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick up the it's right there, it says exhaust filter okay. I'm not sure if, hang on, close the door, get rid of the beeping. If it's, let's see how much def I have. So I put down that it didn't really have a meter for def. So right there it says diesel exhaust fluid okay, and then I said that it only tells you when you get real low. Well, I finally got it low enough, you know, a month or so after that video, to where it said a percentage. So once it gets down to 25%, it'll say diesel exhaust fluid 20%, and it will give you a warning when you first start the truck as well. And then if you run it too low, it'll actually tell you how many miles you have left before you're out of def. I was hoping it just had a gauge, you know, just with a needle on it. I think that the Dodges and the Fords have that, I believe. And to me, that makes more sense because you could see it coming. But honestly, at 25% on this thing, you still have, I think, about 1,000-mile range before you actually need to add def once you get down to 25%. It doesn't use a whole lot of def. I only have 25,000 miles on this truck, but I bought a 55-gallon drum of def when I bought the truck, and I haven't gone through that drum yet. So it's not so bad. I don't do a lot of idling in the truck. I try not to idle it very much. If it's really cold out, I'll idle it enough to warm up. My crane and my compressor, they're hydraulic, but I don't run a PTO off this, the PTO off this truck. I run it off of my welder, so I don't have to idle this thing all day. Honestly, I don't know how somebody who has to idle their truck all day to run a boom or something like that, how they can do that, because regenerating that def is not a good thing. So let's go into that real quick. The first time that it said that I needed to do a regen, I said, okay, I'll do a manual regen. So I got out the service manual. Their instructions were in fact, their instructions were wrong, actually. I called the dealer and they said, oh, there's an update. There's new pages you have to put in the manual that show how to do it. So I went through the instructions. I finally figured it out. It was a litally weird on how you have to start the manual process. But I started it, and I had my truck over here by my neighbor's house, and this truck went to full throttle with full fan and just screaming. And I'm like, I can't do this. It's gonna bug the crap out of him. So I took and moved the truck over to the other side of the shop. I initiated it again, and it was full throttle for 45 minutes. God, the thing burned like 10 gallons of fuel just doing a regen. So I won't do that again. Fortunately, when I am driving this, I'm 90% of the time it's a long drive. It's an hour or more. And so I just let it regen on the road, which it seems to do fine. I can tell when it's regenning because I get more power. I'll see more smoke, especially like if I come to a stop at a stoplight. I go to take off and I could just feel the power. It's got like 10% more power, and there's a puff of smoke behind me because this thing's cleaning the air by regenning the DPF, by burning more fuel and putting more smoke out. I'm not sure how all that works, but I'm sure if we follow the science, we'll find that's correct. But I can tell when it's regenning, and then by the time I get to where I'm going, it's usually done regenning on its own, and then the system's done and it runs good. So look at my list here. I actually wrote a list, make sure I have everything. Yes, I do. I've talked about everything I want to talk about. So anyways, this truck's been great. I recommend this truck. It's a great truck, but you will have to do some spring work to it. If you get a four-wheel drive, spend the $6,000 per axle to have Kelderman's, to buy the kit from them for the air springs, or take it to a good spring shop, explain what you need on it, and if you do what I did, it's going to run really good. I'm really happy with the truck though, especially now that it rides good. I'm super happy with it. Before, I just put up with the rough ride, but it was better than my Ford because I didn't have to work on it every 3 months, pull all the fuel injectors out, reseal them and all that bull. This one has run, it's been flawless. I haven't had to do a thing to it. I've got 25,000 on it and it's just been great. I've done oil changes and air filters, that kind of thing, and that's it. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Please hit the like button if this video helps you at all, and please comment. If you have a comment about this thing, a good constructive comment, please comment and I will respond. If you wanted the information that I've talked about today, as far as the speed, governor setting and all that kind of stuff, just send me put that in the comments and I will get back to you and help you out with that. So anyways, thanks for watching and have a good day.